You guys are moving billions of dollars around. How do you make money off of USDT? How does USDT like make a profit?
I used to say the elegance of Tether's business model is in its simplicity. I'm rolling out a couple new companies, STBL, which is Stablecoin 2.0. There's a few structural flaws that need to be fixed, and that's what STBL is offering.
Recently, Iran had like $400 million frozen in USDT.
Every country, like China, etc., dictatorships, the ones with the most control, they're going to issue CBDCs.
Like Kanye or like Trump or Malay, you know, the coin goes up and then it's down 99% in 2 days.
We're talking about apples and oranges here. I'm focused just on stable coins. Yeah, not on meme coins or anything else. What drives every technology innovation? What do you think the two main drivers are?
Well, an obvious one is money.
I'll let you off the hook. It's porn and gambling.
As somebody that has built a company that transacted literal billions of dollars.
Trillions. Sorry to interrupt.
Trillions of dollars. Have you ever been betrayed? Hello, Reeve. How you doing?
Great. Happy to be here.
Definitely. You're a pretty important guy. You co-founded Tether. I think it's the biggest stablecoin in the world. How does it feel waking up every day knowing that you've built something so huge?
No, there's a lot of gratitude for that, for the ability to have had such a large impact on the world and to see something that I concepted and created, and this great innovative group of people over a decade ago to really bring something so special to market. It's pretty amazing.
How do you get into a position where I saw you graduated as like a marketing student, a finance student. How do you go from a student in college and university to somebody that just happens to build something like that? What's the ladder for that?
Well, I wish I would have created Stable right out of college, but I had about 10 years gap there. So I was super fortunate. There's a book called Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. That's super interesting in the sense that there's a lot of things that need to converge for such significant things to happen, right? For the ability to introduce something that changes the world, and timing's a big part of it. So I was very fortunate. I graduated college in '97, right when the internet was really taking off. And in addition to graduating at the right time, I got an amazing job. I got a job at one of the very first ever online advertising agencies. And that company, within 2 years, went from me starting out there as the seventh employee to going public for $6.6 billion between 97 and 99. So I got to see that, like this front row seat to the introduction of the internet to the entire world, and really participate in a company that was materially contributing to that. And so it was just a super valuable education to see how transformative a technology could be. And I did a handful of other kind of online advertising and marketing startups between over 99 to 2013 when I started Tether. But really what stuck with me was seeing the transformative power of the internet, the global instant free movement of information, and how that changed the world. And then when I was first introduced to the blockchain or Bitcoin, they were talking about, this new currency, but really the second part of that innovation back then that no one was talking about back then was the technology, was the blockchain technology that was the global instant free movement of money. And so that's so seeing it in the internet and then having a decade plus of experience, of professional experience, I realized, let's dive in here and figure out how to make traditional currencies, dollars, euros, yen, move on a blockchain. Because I could tell how big of an impact the blockchain was going to have.
So usually currencies, they're backed by gold or by the government, by banks. What is backing USDT?
Well, so USDT is currently backed by US Treasuries, but to raise that, to give you a more philosophical answer, right? Kings and governments create currencies. They in the entirety of human history, it's always by those in power, they issue the currencies. With the advent of the blockchain, it's the first time that anyone other than the people in power could create a currency And that's because we had a system, the blockchain technology, and then a new currency, Bitcoin, that the rules were written in code and you couldn't alter them. So it's a system that you could trust, because before you would have had to trust this centralized authority. The dollar is backed by the faith and trust in the US government. It is not backed by gold. Years ago, the dollar was backed by gold, and a lot of other countries' currencies was backed by gold. But what broke the backing of gold was that the governments wanted to issue more money than gold they had on hand. And so they're like, well, we don't want to back it by gold anymore. Just trust us and let us issue as much as we want. And that's what led to inflation and all the destabilization of lots of currencies over time. Bitcoin solved that in the sense stating our monetary policy is written in code and it cannot be altered. Unlike other monetary policies that are altered by the whims of man, this one will never change.
But because USDT is based on the US dollar, it still is based on the whims of man in a way, right?
But that's not what we're solving. Bitcoin solves that problem.
Right.
Bitcoin solves the problem of creating a superior currency that's globally accessible to anyone in the world outside of governments. Bitcoin solves that. Tether is a bridge. Tether is the bridge of the traditional financial infrastructure, which is slow and antiquated, to the new financial infrastructure, the blockchain, which is global, instant, and free. If you can move money today within 3 seconds, why do the majority of the world have to take 3 days and wait for their banks to move it? So it's the upgrade, and Tether is the bridge. Stablecoins is simply currency, the same type of currency like you just said. It's still dollars. It's just formatted to work on a better infrastructure.
As somebody that's been there for the start of a lot of these crypto projects, including Tether, what are you looking at right now that you can see is the next big thing? It's a very vague question.
Well, the evolution of the industry has been amazing to see, right? Over the past decade plus, where in the beginning it was really the crazy people and the anarchists and people on the fringe saying, let's put in a new monetary infrastructure and new types of money. And over this last decade, the governments have caught up. And why have they caught up? They tried to squash it in the beginning, but they finally caught up because the product, the service is so much better. It's the difference between writing a letter and putting it in the mail and using the post office to an email, right? That was a huge leap. The difference between today sending a wire and today's financial services to blockchain services is the same size of a leap. And since it's so big, the governments couldn't stop it. Banks couldn't stop it. So now they're getting on board. Regulations catching up, which enables the trillions of dollars that are sitting in the current financial system to flow into this upgraded infrastructure. And so when you ask what's coming next, an upgrade. What's coming next is global access. Think about, like, we're all in the US here and we have great financial services. And there's 180 currencies or so in the world. And if you stack rank them, the dollar is always number one. Everyone else wants to upgrade to the dollar. And so they finally have the ability to have world-class financial services, a rock solid currency in the dollar that's now accessible to everyone in the world with a cell phone. There are 1.4 billion smartphones out there with people that don't have bank accounts. Now they do.
So in a sense, because of cryptocurrency can be used as soft power by the United States in all these countries where in the past, you couldn't really hold the US dollar. It was very difficult. Now the US has like an additional soft power over all these countries, because instead of them using like the peso, they're on the US dollar now in a sense.
That is one way to look at it. Yes. And it depends on the scale. So if dollar-backed stable coins move into a country and take over the currency, then yes, the dollar gets more soft power. But where we're moving to is that these different countries and different ecosystems are going to issue their own currencies that may or may not be backed by the dollar and may or may not be backed just by US Treasuries. We have the ability now to reintroduce gold, bring back the gold standard, something that is universally accepted and the values universally agreed upon. To back currencies, or other types of kind of high quality investments that generate higher yield to back the currencies. So to answer your question, yes, the US dollar is getting more soft power. And also it's opened the door for new types of backing of these currencies.
I'm curious, USDT, you guys are moving billions of dollars around. How do you make money off of USDT? How does USDT like make a profit as a currency? Is it just through the fees?
No, not at all, actually. And to clarify, I created Tether and USDT years ago. I'm no longer involved. I'm focused on a handful of new ventures, really to upgrade the stablecoin infrastructure and to upgrade the financial systems itself. But to answer your question, I used to say the elegance of Tether's business model is in its simplicity. Give me $1. I issue you a token that works on a blockchain. Lots of utility for this token, right? Global access to the dollar, the movement. And so people are happy to make that trade. But now that Tether's scaled and there's $180+ billion that Tether is sitting on, and Tether captures all of that yield. So how does Tether make money? It invests that. Right now, it's the 11th largest holder of treasuries in the world. Those treasuries earn, 3 to 4%. And then another portion of that backing goes into other high yielding investments.
Do you sell equity?
It's been an amazing ride with Tether, and to see that company grow over time.
The 11th biggest. Oh my gosh! I guess I didn't even think about that. You guys do take money and give a digital currency in return, so you're taking like a lot. That's insane.
Well, we're not taking a lot. Like Tether.
No, I'm not mean in a bad way. I mean like you're facilitating a service.
Yeah. An extremely valuable service. Yeah. Two things, right? Global access to the US dollar, and then a financial infrastructure that allows you to move money globally instantly for free. And in the beginning, when we started it, people thought it was crazy. They're like, this makes no sense. It'll never work. It's taken a decade plus to get to where it is. And it didn't even really start taking off until the blockchain truly picked up with the ICO craze, where there was lots more tokens and lots more people flowing in the end of 2017. It took many years for it to gain traction. And for people outside of just crypto, like people in other countries that wanted access to the dollar, because it is complicated for them to really lean in. But now it's truly a lifesaver and really lifeblood of a lot of people's financial services, because they don't have access to anything else.
Crypto originally emerged as, and I've had this conversation on the podcast a couple of times already, and I want to get your opinion on it, because crypto originally emerged as a cryptocurrency, a currency where a lot of these hardcore crypto people believe it was there for privacy, for security, for a decentralized way to escape the Western banking system, or however you want to put it, right? That's why it was used on the Silk Road, all of that. Now, I feel like crypto has a very different ethos. There are a lot more, it's kind of almost done a 180, where originally crypto was used on the Silk Road. It was used on like the dark web. It was used for these, weird transactions. Now crypto is being used by normal, regular people that are just paying for services in a more convenient way. Do you think crypto has changed its mission statement? Do you think crypto has evolved into something different than what it used to be? Or is this always what crypto sought out to be originally?
Well, crypto is an alternative to government-backed currencies and traditional financial infrastructure. That's what crypto is in a bucket, right? Let me ask you a question. What drives every technology innovation? What do you think the two main drivers are?
I would say speed is a big part of it. Speed/convenience.
Or I would say the two use cases. What really makes people innovate technologies? What's the driver?
Oh, what makes new people innovate technologies? Well, an obvious one is money.
Yeah, but I'll let you off the hook. It's porn and gambling.
Oh, right.
Right. And so it's when you try to use this thing, your statement was, well, crypto used to be these on the fringe, and people are using it for the dark web and doing kind of gray area things with it. That's the driver of every new technology because it's such a big market, and so people want to service it better and better, and there's a lot of demand. And so in this instance, the demand, like, all technologies go through that. That's all everyone thought the internet was at first, right? That's what really drove bandwidth and speed, was the desire for porn and gambling. And then over time, it's like, oh, we have this extraordinary infrastructure that delivers information quicker. Let's deliver other information with it. And now it's like, well, I need, in the very beginning, like the first use cases where I want to do financial transactions outside of the traditional system because I want them to be kind of hidden away or separate. And so it was the dark web, those types of transactions. But once people saw how efficient that was and how useful it is, then more and more use cases are developed. So the mission of crypto, which is high quality financial services and currencies for the entire world, hasn't changed. Like, my mission personally is to deliver on the promise of blockchain, which is access to high quality financial services for everyone. That is what blockchain can offer. It's taken a long time to get there. And what has slowed it down was adoption, but more importantly, regulation. And now the governments have shifted from trying to squash it and kill it and destroy it to trying to control it. So now they're leaning in and giving us the regulations, which is allowing the traditional financial institutions to get involved and allowing those trillions of dollars to flow into this ecosystem. So I don't believe that the ethos or the idea of crypto or blockchain has changed at all. I believe the use cases have matured and have become much more globally accepted and are going very mainstream, because the use cases are to upgrade the entire financial infrastructure of the world. And we're getting there.
I guess I need to watch more porn and gamble more to find the next.
I mean, there you go.
I think AI is really big on that right now, right? They're using AI for a lot of that.
They're exactly right. Like, that's one of the first use cases of AI. Everyone's like, OnlyFans is going to be replaced with these AI agents and all these things. But AI also is another category that's truly going to drive everything and control everything. And the agents is going to the agents' use of stable coins and blockchain is going to truly drive the global adoption, volumes, and momentum of our technology moving forward.
When you started USDT, there are other companies that offer a very similar service, which is like USDC, on all these different kind of networks. Why do you think your stablecoin surpassed all of them?
Well, have you ever heard of Ubid or any of these other, you've heard of eBay? You heard of Amazon. It's the first mover advantage. There's lots of other people that follow and try to like get in there, but no one could beat Amazon at selling books, even though it's pretty basic. No one could beat eBay at doing an auction, even though it's pretty basic, because they're a first mover advantage. Tether had significant first mover advantage. It was like 3 or 4 years before anyone. I was super, super, super early, right? And what happened was USDT became the trading pair for every single token out there because it was the only stable coin. It was the only way you could have a stable asset to trade a volatile asset against. And it created tons of decentralized exchanges. And once you have all of those listing pairs, it's very, very hard for other people to get that type of liquidity and adoption.
That's insane. That's really impressive, honestly, how you guys thought of that. Do you think if you had to restart now in 2026, you're an entrepreneur, you need to get to the same level of influence and you need to build something similar? Do you think you'd be able to do it where you are right now, knowing what you know?
Well, I'm hopefully doing exactly that because I'm rolling out a couple of new companies. STBL, which is Stablecoin 2.0, seeing the stablecoins kind of become the reserve currency of the cryptocurrency ecosystem, right? Really, truly the foundation. But not only that, they're the bridge from the traditional finance to crypto finance. It's time for them to be upgraded. There's a few structural flaws that need to be fixed, and that's what STBL is offering.
Can I ask a question? They said the same thing for XRP for like 5 years. Nonstop, they say banks are going to start using XRP. You need to buy XRP. For 5 years, nothing happened. Is this another XRP situation?
Absolutely not. And I'll explain exactly why. What's XRP? It's just another centralized company, another brand. It's not offering really a service. It's saying, use my token. And look, the people who created XRP have made billions and billions of trying to say that they have a better system. What STBL is, it's a decentralized protocol. It's just another way to offer a service where the banks, large ecosystems and institutions get to create their own stable coins. They get to use whatever backing. Instead of just treasuries, it also can be other high quality assets backing it. And then it enables you to programmatically strip that yield and distribute it to the users, to the issuers, to the people who put the money in, right? It allows all of the tools needed to create your own financial ecosystem. So it's not like use XRP and use our types of tokens. It's create your own token. Yes, using our technology because we're just providing a service. And so I believe in the future, all large ecosystems are going to issue their own currency. And so I've brought to market a technology that makes it super easy for them to do that and to do it in a manner that brings them a lot of value, a lot of utility to that ecosystem, to the users of the ecosystem, as well as the issuers of the currency within that ecosystem. And I'll add one more thing to that. The future, it's not about banks, right? Banking services will become a utility. Today, you don't care what power company gives you power. You care that you have power. You are not going to care which bank sends your money. Is it Wells Fargo or B of A? Who cares, right? You just want the transaction to be done. So that all that financial software and capability will become embedded in all these ecosystems. What's an ecosystem? A sports team, large gaming universes, right? Cities, states, countries, these are ecosystems, large institutions, Amazon, like there are all these ecosystems. They're going to issue their own currencies because both the company itself gets more value and so do the users get more value. And you're going to have AI agents because it sounds complex, but your agents are going to route all of these transactions to whatever's the most quickest and most profitable for you. And so that's the future that I see. And I'll add one more layer to that. Once the AI routes it to the most efficient way for you, you get to direct your AI. And where are you going to direct it? It's not to some cool brand. You're going to direct it to something you're passionate about, to whatever community you want to be involved in the most, wherever you want to show your loyalty and receive rewards from. So let's say you're a Manchester United fan or just FIFA in general. You're going to tell your AI, I want to do all these transactions, but I want the maximum amount of rewards from soccer teams. And so those soccer teams are going to be the ones that reap the transactional value from your transactions, and they'll return it to you in the form of loyalty. And so that's where I really see the future going is the AI are going to do the transactions, and loyalty is going to become something that's extremely important because that's the only thing left for you to, because everything else is going to be a commodity and you'll get to dictate where you want things to flow based on what you're passionate about.
So how is that going to prevent rug pulls where, these people, they basically set up a coin using your infrastructure and then like Kanye or like Trump or Malay, the coin goes up and then it's down 99% in 2 days.
So we're talking about apples and oranges here. You're talking about meme coin.
Yours is stable coins. It's not like a pump and dump.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm focused just on stable coins. Yeah. Not on meme coins or anything else. Just true financial infrastructure.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
But are you worried that people are not going to, like, let's say I set up a coin, right? Ivan coin. Who's going to want to put their money into Ivan coin? Or like, you know what I mean? It's going to have to be, why would anybody, I guess people would want to put money into the brand that they like because they trust the brand with the money.
Well, let me give you a better example because it's not quite what you're saying. So first back to Ivan coin and meme coins. That has nothing to do with anything that I'm talking about. I'm just talking about financial infrastructure. And I also,
Yes.
when I'm talking about brands, I'm not saying that you're going to put your money into that brand. You're going to say, I want to do all these. Basically, today, you know how you can get a co-branded credit card? You can get a United Airlines credit card or these other types of credit cards.
Oh, okay. So you're
Yeah.
partnering with these banks and large institutions with these
Yes.
stablecoins.
And so instead of just issuing a credit card, they're actually going to issue their own currency. And then you, instead of having to say, I want to sign up for your United credit card, you're going to say, this month, I'm really excited about the Taylor Swift concert. So you're going to tell your AI, and I'm talking about the future, 5, 10 years from now, you know, like this is, you know, you're kind of asking where it's going. What do I feel is going to happen?
Right.
You're going to be able to say, I want to do all these transactions, but for this month, I want all this incremental value that used to be extracted by the banks or third parties because they monetize your data and they monetize your transaction fees. That's the money they used to get. In the future, your data still will be monetized. You'll still pay transaction fees, but it will be redistributed to you in the form of loyalty. And so you'll say, I kind of want all that data to flow value towards maybe winning a FIFA ticket or a Taylor Swift ticket. So you're going to get a lot more tangible rewards for the way that you do your traditional financial services and transactions. You're going to be able to tell your AI, this is how I want my reward. Like, this is where I want my rewards focused on. And maybe it's to give it to charity. So in the future, you're going to have all of these ways to get more value out of the standard types of transactions that you do. I know it's complex, but what I'm really saying is the technology is going to be ubiquitous, so fast, so free, and so cheap to operate that all the money that was extracted gets redistributed and you get to choose where.
So why people wouldn't go with banks as well because of the fees? Banks would charge like 2-3% fees. What would be the fees on this platform?
So banks will still be around, right? Branches won't. All those fees will be compressed. And I don't know what they're going to be compressed to, but they'll be compressed to, because it's going to be very inexpensive to run these massive platforms. So you don't need to take money fees, and you'll take some and you'll share it back with the consumers, because it's all about distribution. It's all about winning the consumer to use your rail. So it's giving the best loyalty, giving the best rewards, making it the most profitable. Because agents, the consumer's wallet, when they speak into it and say, send this transaction, do this, that, or buy these 5 things, it's going to be run by an agent, and it's going to ensure that you get the most value out of that transaction.
I'm excited for that, man. Sounds way more convenient too. What are you, as someone that's been in the crypto game for a very long time, what are you holding right now other than stablecoins?
Well, see, you don't really hold stable coins, right? Like, people who hold stable coins, that just becomes an investment. So you're welcome to hold a stable coin, and sometimes you stake it for yield if that's the type of investment you want. But if you're making those investments, there just depends on where you want to focus your portfolio. And so what's going to become interesting is right now, stable coins are mainly backed by Treasuries, which again return, call it 3 to 4%. Soon, stablecoins will be backed by like AAA bonds and different things that return 7-8%. We're doing a deal with Hamilton Lane. They have the Hamilton Lane Scope Fund that returns 7-8%. And OKX, we're issuing a token called RXUSD. So it's backed by a mix of treasuries and this scope fund. So the blended rates, call it 5%, right? So now you can have a stable coin that's backed by high quality RWAs, and you can get 5 or 6% for using it. And the next innovation that Stablecoin 2.0 and STBL brings about is the fact that it strips that yield into 2 tokens. So you actually can still spend the stablecoin and earn the yield, something that's never been able to be done before, because usually you have to stake it or hold on to it to earn the yield. Now we have the ability to allow you to get the yield after you spend it. So it's a really interesting innovation that RWAs and stablecoin protocols are now bringing to market, which I call Stablecoin 2.0.
Jeez. So, serious question. When you started working in the crypto space originally, and you saw how shady a lot of it can be, especially with the rug pulls, especially with the deep web stuff, whatever you want to call it. Were you worried that it would negatively affect the perception of USDT and kind of your companies? Because there is still a really, really bad connotation, not for my generation, but for older people. They're like, Bitcoin, isn't that used for like trafficking? Or like, didn't, or like the pump and dumps. People say, oh, crypto is just like a rug pull. You put $100 in, you make $1 million, or you lose everything. It's gambling. Do you see yourself as like kind of the antithesis of that, because you're providing like kind of the opposite of almost like every bad aspect of the crypto industry?
Absolutely, and I hope other people see me that way as well, because that's what it's not about more regulation, it's about better builders, right? Like, technology is not good, it's not bad, it's neutral. It is technology. So it depends on how you use it. Do you want to use it for good, or do you want to use it for evil? There's a lot of incentive to use it for evil. There's a lot of scam artists out there, right? They're using this technology to scam people. They're using this technology to break into it and to steal from it and to hack it. But there's never been a technology where that hasn't been the case. Let's go back to cash. People are like, oh, Bitcoin's used for trafficking or buying drugs. What do you think cash is used for? Right? Like, cash is used for all the bad stuff just as much as it's used for all the good stuff. And so you need more mature systems in place to ensure the bad stuff's reduced and the good stuff's increased. And so in the beginning of a technology, there's not very mature systems. And so a lot of bad stuff does happen. A lot of people exploit it and take advantage of it. So again, you need better builders, more good people, not just bad people. And then over time, people will realize that the technology is super solid. And the best example of this is all the regulation that's coming, right? The governments are realizing, okay, there's a lot of good that can be done with this technology. Yes, this is an upgrade to the financial system. Let's regulate it so our traditional system can be upgraded to a blockchain-based system.
Are you worried that crypto started off as this decentralized project and it's becoming extremely centralized, with the government being able to control? And you don't have to answer this question. We can cut it out if you want. But with the government being able to control what goes on with USDT, for example, recently Iran had like $400 million frozen in USDT, which kind of just publicly tells everybody, USDT, at the end of the day, it is like US backed. The US can decide what happens to your money the same way they can do with a bank account. Are you worried that it's going to just give the government, in an ironic way, more control rather than decentralizing it?
Well, there used to be a big debate over CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. All that means is stablecoins issued by a government, right? And why is that? Well, because stablecoins, or I should say currency that's running on this new platform, is highly programmable, completely controllable. And if a government then issues its own currency with all of these controls in place that makes it completely transparent, and they can freeze it, rewind it, do all these things instantly, it becomes a surveillance state. Every country, like China, etc., dictatorships, the ones with the most control, they're going to issue CBDCs. They're all trying to do it because you'll automatically pay your taxes. They'll have complete control over your financial sovereignty. You won't have any financial sovereignty. And in the US, it was a big debate. And the US is saying, no, we're outlawing CBDCs. You cannot use them because we don't want the government to have that much control. So again, it's not good or bad. It's how you use the technology. So the question was, do I fear that the decentralized nature of crypto is being centralized? It absolutely is. And there's going to be an equilibrium and a balance. It needs to be centralized at some point in order for governments to be comfortable enough to regulate it, in order to have some control so it can scale. But there will always be alternatives for consumers to use if they don't want to use those systems. That might not be as big or as much volume, but it's there. It's more and more important with the instability of the world. And instead of globalization, we've kind of taken a step back and we're going in a different direction. And it's more important than ever to have an alternative. Like, that's the most important thing. People are like, is Bitcoin going to be around? I believe it's going to always be around, and it's going to grow in its importance because we need an alternative to government-backed currencies. we need an alternative to those systems because sometimes those governments fail and those currencies crash. And so, and it looks like there's more turmoil in the world. So it just becomes really, really valuable to have this.
Yeah. I feel like in a sense, if you want to have freedom from China, you use American systems. If you want to have freedom from America, you use Chinese systems. If you're in Russia, you use X, Y, X, Y, Z, you know? Like at the end of the day, there's no way the US government can allow a currency as big as USDT where they can say, yeah, you can just do whatever you want, you know? I feel like that's a given.
Sure, they're always going to try to control it. And that's why it's taken so long for crypto to grow to the size it has. It took the internet a couple of years. Once the interface, once the browser was invented, like 3 or 4 years, it exploded on the world because there was no regulation. The governments didn't think that the fast, free, instant access to information was that big of a deal. It turned out to truly change the world. But when they had the ability to do that with money, they wanted to stop it at all costs. They're like, hell no. Like, we're not going to allow that. But
until they realize that they can control it with CBDs.
Yeah,
centralized digital
CBDCs.
Yeah. Did you come from lower class, middle class, upper class?
I grew up in a very small town called Walla Walla, Washington. Very middle class, well-to-do family, but just average in this town. My father was an airline pilot and a farmer, but yeah, look, it's such different generations, right? That I didn't really get an email address or the internet until I was a junior in college. So there was no, I didn't get a cell phone until I graduated college, right? It's just a very different world. And what's interesting is, it's kind of more back to this is, again, the internet plugged in the whole world to knowledge. The blockchain plugs the whole world into financial access. So for the last 20, 30 years, the world's been learning and learning and learning, but they still couldn't contribute or participate. When you plug in financial access and knowledge, then you get this global economy and you raise up that bottom billion. Because now they're plugged into financial access, which really is going to materially change the world. So it's been amazing to see all of the iterations of technology and where we're going, which ultimately is going to provide more access for people around the world to financial services, information, and just really a higher standard of living.
That's wonderful. I'm really curious about this. And I don't want to go too off topic. Okay. So just tell me if it's too off topic. As somebody that came from middle class, that was kind of thrusted into this environment of a lot of hyper successful people, right? That's sort of what my platform, my audience is trying to do as well. A lot of us come from middle class. We're trying to become the new elite, become successful. What is a unique thing? What is an eccentric quality you've noticed that a lot of these successful people have, whether they're self-made or they come from money, that separates them from normal middle-class people?
Conviction. You have to truly believe. It's more than hustle, because a lot of people are hard workers, but you have to have a belief and you have to hustle and you have to be optimistic, right? You have to have deep conviction in that your idea, that your concept or whatever that you're passionate about is going to make a difference, or that it can make a difference to you and to other people, and that you can actually become successful from it. Because if you don't have that conviction, if you just have the hustle, you'll run out of steam. So it really has to become a passion and a conviction from deep down inside.
No, like weird Illuminati stuff.
In what sense? I guess, conviction and connections and knowing the right people and being in the right place at the right time. You need it all. Again, you guys should all read Outliers, or at least the AI Cliff Notes from that book, because it has some real interesting insights into it. Because there's a lot of extremely qualified people, and some make it and some don't. And what are those differences? Well, the difference is timing and opportunity, geographic location, like a lot of different things like that, is what comes up in that book.
Do you ever, how long did it take you to kind of accept that you are where you are? Did you feel imposter syndrome for a long time?
I mean, I just felt again like I graduated college at the right time. I got the right job, and
Right.
that was amazing. It set the stage and the foundation for my career. And now, where everyone's graduating, it is complicated because AI is changing things so fast. We don't know
Yeah.
where it's going. We just it's and so obviously become. I just share with people like intimately understand AI and how it works, so you can apply it the best. Because right now, that's the best advice I think I can give.
Would you say for someone to get into the same network and to build the same connections that you had when you graduated, for them now, the best thing to do would be to just optimize their AI ability and to just join like some AI company? That's the future right now.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it there. Join some AI company. So really it's like getting the right job because it's hard to start your own company and you're probably going to fail, a few times, but you might as well fail on someone else's dime, or I should say not fail. You might as well learn on someone else's dime, meaning get a job. Get a job at a cool startup. Even if that startup fails, you learn a lot versus it being your startup that failed. Get a job at hopefully a startup that doesn't fail. Or if you have to get a job at more established company that you're learning, but at least put in a few years to understand how the world works a little bit, and then start a company.
Guys, get a job at my startup. It's not failing.
There we go.
Yeah.
What is your startup? Give me 5 seconds on that one.
Quantitative software for retail traders.
Okay, right. So basically taking the best tools in the world and providing access to retail, to anyone, access to better tools.
So like
Amazing.
right now we have, it's basically just TradingView and a couple of order flow tools, and everything else it's like gate kept for really expensive companies. Like you have to pay like $10, $20, $30,000 for the same quantitative analysis that you can get for, way cheaper, way more affordable. And what we're doing is, anyways, I'm not here to pitch my company. You're here to talk about yourself.
But what I hear what you're saying, it's access, right? You took something that very few people had access to and are providing it to the masses. Why and how are you doing that? Well, you're doing that because there's advances in technologies that enable it. So I have another company, WeFi. So WeFi.co, which is an on-chain bank. It's a DO bank, a decentralized on-chain bank. So we're rolling out financial services to the masses, right? To the underbanked. And it's all based, it's a Web3 based company, meaning we do have a token, and that token, provides rewards and cheaper access to the services. And so when I was talking about AI routing your transactions to what's the most profitable or lucrative or interesting for you, that's what we're trying to build. We're trying to build a community where the consumers, where our customers actually reap most of the rewards. Why? Because in the past, financial services costed a lot of money and they would extract a lot. But now that extraction is all being redistributed to the community members. And so we're able to provide access to the underbanked of the world to services that only the privileged few used to have. Just like you're providing access to all the retail traders to privileges that only really sophisticated traders with tons of money had. That's the beauty of advancing technology and blockchain is access. The costs go down and access increases.
With the bank that you're working on right now, the reason why it's so hard to open a bank is because the licensing, the data, the infrastructure is so difficult to set up. Not to mention you have to get it like FDIC insured and all that. Can somebody open up a wallet on your bank or on your debankless bank?
Yeah.
Can someone open up a wallet on it and then, you say tomorrow, sorry guys, the company went down and you lost everything. Like, is there insurance the same way there's a insurance for a bank, or how does that work?
Well, more specifically, WeFi is not a bank. WeFi is a technology infrastructure that allows you to do full financial services on chain. And this technology infrastructure is going to power traditional banks or new banks that do have the licenses and the regulatory coverage. We're going to be rolling out our own that is licensed and regulated using our software, but we're we're this base layer so anyone can plug into on-chain financial services. And you're even going to have fiat denominated accounts, so your local currency. But it's going to move on chain. So it's basically on chain cash. Because why does it need to say USDC when it can just say $1? Right. And so that's where it's moving to. Right now it says USDC because you want to move that globally, instantly, and free. But you really wish it just said $1 and you could move it that way. That's what WeFi is delivering.
I really like this dynamic because you're probably always talking to people that know exactly what you're talking about. And when I get something wrong, you can explain it not only for me, but for my audience who might also not know.
For sure. Yeah, no, happy to make it a little more digestible.
I have a couple more questions that I think would be really interesting to hear the answer to. As somebody that has built a company that transacted literal billions of dollars, have you ever been
trillions? Sorry to interrupt.
Trillions of dollars. Have you ever been betrayed or anything like that?
Look, there are always battle scars, and there are always casualties, and there are always wounds that you carry.
Without naming any names, could you tell me a story about that?
It's inevitable in business, and it's unfortunate. But you just want to go into business relationships and partnerships with your eyes wide open. Sometimes you are your own worst enemy. And sometimes other people really convince you to do things or take advantage of you. And so you just need to learn those lessons, and you need to really have them resonate deeply so you don't continue learning them. That's the biggest issue that most all of us face, is you continue learning the same lesson over and over and over, and you continue to blame other people. So until you can turn that around and blame yourself for learning that same lesson over and over, you'll never grow. So like they say, fool me once, fine. Fool me twice, fine. Fool me 3 times, I'm the idiot. That's not exactly how it goes, but something like that, right? So just really take that to heart and learn those lessons, and always, to simplify it, always take the blame. Because if you always take the blame, you're like, okay, they took advantage of me, but it's my fault because I was there to be taken advantage of. Why were you a mark? Why could you be taken advantage of? What did you do to allow them to take advantage of you? Versus blaming that person for taking advantage of you.
Are you forgiveful for them taking advantage? Like, do you forgive them? You say, I understand why you would do that.
I mean, me personally, I'm not the type that holds deep grudges. I really, truly try to learn the lesson from each one of these experiences. It's not easy to learn these lessons, but it's what creates growth and allows you to succeed as a person, especially if you had some super painful things take place. You really have to make peace with it and learn from it. Like you can't say, why did this happen to me? You have to say, why did this happen for me?
I guess for you as an entrepreneur, regardless of what happens, you kind of have this deep conviction that it's happening for a good reason regardless, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If a meteor
falls let me answer this one question. Ask you this one question. Yeah. You can have a deep conviction that it happened for a bad reason. Then you're going to be sad and miserable. Or you can have a conviction that it happened for a good reason, and at least you'll be optimistic and hopeful. You have no idea. You might as well believe that it happened for a good reason, because then you're going to live a much happier life.
Dude, you have no idea. I come from a small town and I'm sitting here interviewing the co-founder of Tether. Like, I've always had a deep conviction.
Yeah.
And at 21, here we are. So 100%, man, 100%. You got to believe in yourself, number one. And then after that, it just snowballs. I guess just on closing notes, when it comes to young people right now that are building up their future, people that watch right now, they are investors, they're entrepreneurs, they're day traders, and they want to make a bunch of money and then change the world in a positive way. Other than like these platitudes of, oh, work hard, oh, believe in yourself, AI, I want you to like give me like serious, like, holy shit, this changed my life type of advice on the spot. Can you do that for me?
Don't mistake investing for gambling. So a lot of people are like, I'm investing, I'm doing this, I invested in meme coins. You did not invest in meme coins.
You're gambled. The connoisseur of porn and gambling. So
I'm definitely not the connoisseur of porn and gambling. I'm saying those are things that drive technology innovations. It's very different. But don't mistake investing for gambling. People are like, I'm a day trader. That's not investing. That's gambling. People are like, I bought a bunch of meme coins. Again, that's not investing. That's gambling. So if you want to be an investor, use your tools. You're providing people access to like world-class tools that they never had access before. Understand them. Don't use them to trade crazy options. Use them to like make some, more, I would say, rational choices, and maybe use 10, 20% of your portfolio for the crazy options or the meme coins. But just don't mistake the
10, 20%?
Or whatever you want.
2 to 3%.
I'm making up numbers. Please, I have no financial advice. Other than I do tell everyone to buy Bitcoin, and I always have, and I always will, because I'm a believer.
You telling people to use my software, I'm going to put that on my website. Co-founder of Tether. But it's true. Most Bitcoin is gambling. Dude, I'm not even saying this. You saw earlier during the call, I was checking my phone. I closed the trade for 6K profit. I can send you the screenshot after. During the call. It's so bad.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I would love to show you at some point, but I think with $1 trillion, I don't think you need to day trade anymore.
I was saying that Tether has done trillions of dollars of volume in transactions.
I don't think you personally, maybe. We're up there with Elon Musk pretty soon, right? But yeah, don't gamble your money. Obviously, invest into AI. Either you have three ways of becoming successful then, whether it be trading, being an entrepreneur, or being a part of a significant company, especially that's using AI infrastructure right now. Would you say these are the 3 ways that young people should position themselves to become successful?
Yeah, and it's really, really changing rapidly because of AI, and we don't know where it's going to go. So just learn that space deeply, intimately, get involved in it.
Great. Well, Reeve, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for giving me such a quote I can put on my website. It's amazing. And yeah, man, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Good luck with everything you're working on. I appreciate you taking the time to come on The Margin, and make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe. All of Reeve's information will be in the description of the video and the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.